Nicole Kidman has filed for divorce from Keith Urban after 19 years of marriage.
Keith and Nicole's shocking $325 million split that rocked the movie and music world.
Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban have separated. T quote, "She's devastated and didn't want this to happen."
Incredible mom. Loving, maternal, you know. My wife, Nicole Mary, is here tonight. I love you, baby girl.
The shocker comes just 4 months after this love fest at the ACMs.
Who's having more fun today, you or her?
We both are equal.
306 versus 59. Those aren't just numbers in a custody agreement. They're the mathematical proof of a marriage that died years before anyone filed the paperwork. And Nicole Kidman didn't have to say a single word for us to understand exactly what went wrong.
We have such a strong, deep bond and love.
On September 30th, 2025, after 19 years of marriage, Nicole Kidman filed for divorce from Keith Urban in Davidson County Circuit Court in Nashville, Tennessee. The reason cited, irreconcilable differences, standard legal language that usually means nothing. But buried in those court documents is a story that's far more revealing than any tearful interview or carefully crafted statement could ever be. Because when you look at the custody arrangement, when you trace the timeline of who signed what and when you see the financial terms they agreed to without a fight, you start to understand that this divorce didn't happen on September. It happened slowly, quietly, over years of separate lives, conflicting priorities, and one person carrying the weight of family while the other one was always somewhere else. Nicole hasn't given interviews. Keith hasn't made statements. But the paperwork is screaming the truth that both of them refused to say out loud. And what it reveals is worse than any scandal, any affair, any dramatic public blow-up could ever be. It's the slow death of a marriage where one parent was there and one parent wasn't. The news broke like a shockwave on September 29th, 2025. TMZ reported that Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were separating after 19 years together. Fans were stunned. This was the couple who walked red carpets hand in hand. The couple who posted anniversary tributes just months earlier. The couple who seemed to have survived Hollywood's brutal marriage odds. One day later, Nicole made it official. She filed for divorce in Nashville, listing September 30th as both the filing date and the date of separation. Irreconcilable differences. The phrase every celebrity uses when they don't want to explain what really happened. But here's the thing about divorce filings. They're public record. And when you're Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, every single page gets scrutinized, every detail analyzed, every number questioned. And those numbers tell a story that irreconcilable differences never could. The permanent parenting plan, filed alongside the divorce petition, lays out exactly how Nicole and Keith will share custody of their 2 daughters. 17-year-old Sunday Rose and 14-year-old Faith Margaret, 2 teenagers who are about to watch their family split in half. Nicole Kidman will have primary residential custody. The girls will live with her in Nashville. She'll make the day-to-day decisions. She'll be the one they come home to after school. The one who makes dinner, the one who's there for homework help and late-night conversations, and everything else that happens when you're actually present in your children's lives. Keith Urban will have them for 59 days per year.
59 days.
Out of 365, that's 16%, less than 2 months. Every other weekend, essentially, the kind of arrangement you see when one parent lives across the country or when one parent's lifestyle makes equal custody impossible. Nicole gets 306 days, 84% of the year, more than 10 months. That's not co-parenting. That's not shared custody. That's one person raising 2 children while the other person is. And before you think this arrangement was Nicole's aggressive negotiation strategy, consider this. Keith Urban signed that parenting plan on August 29, 25. No fight, no counter-proposal, no request for more time with his daughters. He looked at those numbers, 306 versus 59, and he agreed. He signed away primary custody of his teenage daughters without a legal battle, which means one of 2 things. Either his lifestyle genuinely doesn't support having them more than 59 days per year, or he didn't want the responsibility of having them more often. Either way, those numbers expose a truth that's been hiding in plain sight for years. Keith Urban, country music star, devoted husband, proud father, has been largely absent from his daughters' daily lives. And everyone just accepted it because, well, he was on tour. He was building his career. He was doing what musicians do. But Nicole was home. Nicole was the one who stayed. Nicole was the one who structured her career around her children instead of structuring her children around her career. And at some point, that difference became insurmountable. There's another detail in the court documents that reveals Keith's priorities with brutal clarity. The child support section states that Keith Urban has prepaid all support obligations owed to Nicole. One lump sum payment, done, finished. No monthly checks, no ongoing financial connection, no regular reminder that he's financially responsible for his children's well-being. Most divorced parents pay child support monthly. It's standard. It's predictable. It creates a financial rhythm that keeps both parties accountable and engaged. But Keith prepaid everything. Why? Because his touring schedule is unpredictable. Because he didn't want the administrative burden of monthly payments while he's on the road. Because it was easier to write one big check and be done with the financial obligation the same way the custody arrangement allowed him to maintain his touring lifestyle without the burden of primary parenting. He solved the problem of being an absent father by making sure the absence was legally sanctioned and financially settled. And that tells you everything you need to know about where his focus has been. Keith Urban's 2024 and 2025 have been incredibly successful from a career standpoint. His album High dropped to critical acclaim. His High and Alive World Tour has taken him across North America, Canada, and Australia for months at a time. Dozens of shows, hundreds of thousands of fans, millions in revenue. He's maintained his status as one of country music's biggest stars. But that success required him to be gone. A touring musician at Keith's level is typically on the road 200 or more days per year. That's 2/3 of the year, away from home, away from Nashville, away from his wife, away from his daughters. Now compare that to Nicole's career strategy. She's one of the highest paid actresses in the world. Forbes named her the top earning actress in 2024. She could work constantly if she wanted to, but her career is project-based. She films for months at a time, then comes home. She worked on the Practical Magic sequel with Sandra Bullock in 2025, but Nashville remained her base. She built her career around her family. Keith built his family around his career. And for a while, maybe that worked. Maybe they convinced themselves it was sustainable. Maybe they told themselves that quality time mattered more than quantity, that love could survive geographic separation, that their marriage was strong enough to handle the distance. But then you look at the timeline buried in the court documents, and you realize they stopped believing that a long time ago. August 29, 2025. Keith Urban signs the marital dissolution agreement. He agrees that Nicole will institute divorce proceedings against him due to irreconcilable differences. He agrees to no alimony, no spousal support, a clean financial break. He signs the parenting plan that gives him 59 days per year with his daughters. This is 7 weeks before the divorce becomes public. 7 weeks before fans find out. 7 weeks before the world knows. September 6th, 2025, Nicole Kidman signs the same documents, marital dissolution agreement, parenting plan, all notarized, all official, all ready to file whenever she decides the time is right. September 25th, 2025. Nicole attends an event at the Academy Museum in Los Angeles. Photographers capture her smiling, gracious, elegant, as always. And on her left hand, her engagement ring. Still there, still worn, still maintaining the illusion that everything is fine. September 29th, 2025. TMZ breaks the news. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban have separated. Sources say Nicole is devastated. Friends claim she didn't want this to happen. The public is shocked because as recently as June, they posted anniversary tributes to each other. As recently as May, they walked the ACM Awards red carpet together, looking devoted. September 30th, 2025. Nicole officially files for divorce. The documents she's been sitting on for weeks become public record. And suddenly, everyone can see what she and Keith have known since August. Their marriage has been over for a long time. But here's what makes this timeline so devastating. It's not just that they privately negotiated their divorce while publicly pretending to be happily married. It's that this performance wasn't new. This pattern of pretending while privately falling apart has been the foundation of their marriage for years. Let's go back further. June 26th, 2020. But sources now say Keith moved out of their family home at the beginning of that summer. June. The same month, they're posting anniversary tributes. Keith is setting up his own place in Nashville, creating physical distance that matches the emotional distance that's been growing for years. So those anniversary posts, they were a performance, a carefully curated moment for social media while their real lives were already completely separate. And it wasn't just June. Look at the entire year leading up to the filing. In December 2024, Nicole gave an interview to The Hollywood Reporter about their family routine. "We have breakfast together every morning, and we have dinner," she said. "How do we do it? I'm kind of not sure." At the time, it seemed like humble charm, a busy couple making it work, despite demanding careers. But now it sounds like someone admitting they don't actually know how to make their marriage work anymore. Someone who's already decided it won't work, but is still going through the motions. I'm kind of not sure. That's not the language of a confident partnership. That's the language of someone who's lost. And then there's the moment that now feels painfully prophetic. At the premiere of her Netflix series, The Perfect Couple in 2024, Nicole was asked if the title applied to her and Keith. Her response: "You're heading for trouble if you consider yourselves the perfect couple. I'm not a believer in perfect." Was she already thinking about divorce when she said that? Or was she simply being honest about cracks in their foundation that nobody else could see yet? Either way, the message is clear. Nicole stopped believing in the fairy tale long before she filed the paperwork. The financial terms of Nicole and Keith's divorce are remarkably clean for a couple married for 19 years. Both have waived spousal support. Neither will receive ongoing payments from the other. Each keeps all assets held in their own name, including copyrights and royalties from their respective work. Nicole keeps her film and television earnings. Keith keeps his music catalog and touring revenue. This level of financial separation, after nearly 2 decades of marriage, only happens one way, with a prenuptial agreement that was ironclad from day one. Think about what that means. When Nicole married Keith in 2006, she was already one of Hollywood's biggest stars. She had an Oscar, she had massive earning power, and she had already been through a painful, public divorce from Tom Cruise. So when she married Keith, she protected herself. She made sure that if this marriage ended, her finances would remain separate. Her assets would stay hers. Her career earnings wouldn't be split. And Keith agreed to those terms. He signed a prenup that would keep their money separate no matter how long the marriage lasted or how successful either of them became.
That's not necessarily cynical.
It's practical, smart even, but it also reveals something about the foundation of their relationship. They built their marriage, knowing it might not last. They created legal structures from the beginning that would make separation clean and simple if it ever came to that. They planned for failure while hoping for success. And now, 19 years later, those structures are doing exactly what they were designed to do, allowing both parties to walk away from the marriage without the financial entanglement that destroys most celebrity divorces. The prenup that protected them from each other is now facilitating their divorce with remarkable efficiency. And that efficiency suggests this ending wasn't a surprise to either of them. It was always a possibility they'd prepared for from the start. Since the divorce filing became public, neither Nicole nor Keith has spoken. No interviews, no statements, no social media explanations, just silence. But sources close to the couple have been filling in the gaps. And what they're saying paints a picture of a marriage that's been dying slowly for years. One source told People magazine that Nicole feels very betrayed by the end of their marriage. She's hurt and feels betrayed. It's devastating to her. She's shocked, the insider said. But other sources suggest Nicole shouldn't be shocked at all. The marriage breakdown hasn't been a secret among their inner circle. One report stated, their friends saw this coming. Their family knew. The surprise wasn't that they were divorcing, it was that they'd maintained the facade as long as they did. Multiple sources point to the fundamental incompatibility of their careers. Keith's touring schedule meant he was away more than he was home. Nicole's film schedule was demanding but allowed her to return to Nashville between projects. That geographic separation created emotional distance that became impossible to bridge. Keith never sees Nicole, a source told the Daily Mail. Either she is filming or he is on tour. The intimacy isn't there. They're just going through the motions of being married. And then there are the rumors. Whispers of another woman in Keith's life. Sources told TMZ that speculation about Keith seeing someone new is all over Nashville. Some reports pointed to Maggie Baugh, Keith's touring guitarist, though she's been married for 17 years and nothing has been confirmed. But here's the thing, whether Keith is seeing someone new or not almost doesn't matter, because the core problem isn't infidelity, it's absence. When your husband is on the road 200+ days per year, when you're raising 2 teenagers primarily alone, when the person you married shows up for big events but misses the daily reality of family life, that's not a marriage. That's a part-time arrangement where one person is doing all the work. The real reason for the divorce, according to those close to the couple, isn't dramatic or scandalous. It's simple and sad. Keith chose his career, Nicole chose their daughters, and eventually, those choices made staying married impossible. There's a shadow hanging over this divorce that nobody's mentioning publicly, but that the custody arrangement makes impossible to ignore: Keith Urban's addiction history. In 2006, just 4 months into their marriage, Nicole staged an intervention when Keith's alcohol struggles reached crisis levels. He entered rehab at the Betty Ford Center for 3 months. It was a defining moment in their relationship. Nicole could have walked away. She'd only been married to him for 4 months, but she stayed. At Nicole's AA5 ceremony in November 2023, 17 months before filing for divorce, Keith gave an emotional tribute. 4 months into our marriage, my addictions that I had done really nothing about blew our marriage wide open, he said. And I went into the Betty Ford Center, and Nicole pushed through every negative voice, I'm sure even some of her own, and she chose love. He praised her for saving him, for choosing their marriage when it would have been easier to leave. But now, look at the custody split. 306 days with Nicole, 59 days with Keith. The documents don't mention substance abuse concerns. They don't cite specific reasons for this lopsided arrangement. But when a mother seeks primary custody to the extent of 84% of the year, and a father agrees without contest, it raises questions. Is it purely touring schedules, or did Nicole have concerns about extended time with Keith? Did she worry about stability, about appropriate care, about whether he could handle 2 teenagers on his own for extended periods? The documents don't say, but custody arrangements, this extreme, typically happen for specific reasons. Work schedules that make equal custody impossible, or concerns about whether the other parent can provide appropriate care. And Keith signing that arrangement without fighting for more time suggests he knew he couldn't argue otherwise. On October 1st, 2025, one day after filing for divorce, Nicole Kidman stepped out in Nashville for a hike with her sister Antonia. Photographers captured her in black leggings, a gray zip-up, and matching hat. At one point during their nature walk, she was seen speaking emphatically to Antonia, who listened intently. Nicole is leaning on family, processing, moving forward. Meanwhile, Keith Urban landed in Hershey, Pennsylvania, preparing for his concert at the Giant Center, and photographers noticed something. His left ring finger was bare, no wedding band, the most visible confirmation yet that his marriage is truly over. But Keith isn't slowing down. He's locked in on work mode. The High and Alive World Tour continues. The shows go on. His career, as always, comes first. And maybe that's the most revealing detail of all. While Nicole takes time to grieve, to process, to be with family, Keith is back on stage, back on the road, back to the lifestyle that destroyed his marriage in the first place. Because here's the brutal truth that the custody arrangement and the timeline and the financial terms all confirm Keith Urban was never going to choose his family over his career. And Nicole finally stopped pretending that he would. Nicole Kidman didn't reveal the real reason for her divorce from Keith Urban. She hasn't given interviews. She hasn't posted explanations. She hasn't tried to control the narrative beyond what's required by law. But the court filing she submitted on September 30th, 2025, reveals everything that matters. The custody split, 306 days with Nicole, 59 days with Keith, is the mathematical proof of incompatible priorities. It's the formalization of a pattern where one parent was present and one parent wasn't. It's the court system acknowledging what their marriage couldn't survive. Keith's career came first, and Nicole was left raising their daughters, essentially alone. The prenup that keeps their finances cleanly separated reveals they built protections into their marriage from the beginning, planning for the possibility that it might not last. The timeline that shows Keith signing the parenting plan in August, 2 months before the public filing, reveals they were performing their marriage for public consumption while privately agreeing to end it. And the irreconcilable differences cited in the filing are code for the simplest truth. You can't maintain intimacy and partnership when you're never in the same place, when one person is always leaving, when career ambitions matter more than daily presence. Nicole didn't have to say any of this. The numbers say it for her. 306 versus 59. That's not just a custody arrangement. That's the story of a marriage where one person showed up and one person didn't. That's what happens when a woman finally stops pretending, when she stops performing the perfect marriage, when she stops making excuses for absence, when she finally says, enough. The documents don't lie. They expose the real reason better than any interview ever could. And they tell us what Nicole Kidman knew long before she filed the paperwork. Some marriages don't end with a dramatic explosion. They end with quiet realization, with one person finally admitting that they've been alone all along.